How to infuse honey, whether you're using chopped dry herbs, dried powdered spices, or fresh herbs and vegetables. Infused honey can be a tasty treat or an herbal remedy, mostly both. It can have indefinite shelf life or need to be refrigerated with a shelf life of maybe 2 weeks to 2 months, depending on whether the botanicals are fresh or dried. To heat or not to heat. Heating will destroy important enzymes in the honey, but may be required to extract the healing benefits of the botanicals. Or when you need it today, heat may be your only option. The easiest and fastest would be stirring powdered spices into your honey. Use any dried powdered spice. These are herbs that you would normally eat in your food, like cinnamon, cloves, or even turmeric, and you add these to your honey. These need to set at least overnight. The longer they set, the more intense the aroma and taste would be, and the better the infused honey. They should stay suspended in the honey, but you may need to stir before using. These spices will soften but not dissolve. They may settle to the bottom of your cup for you to enjoy. Now, my favorite is chai spice infused honey. This will make a delicious instant chai tea latte. Use chai spice infused honey to transfer ordinary food into extraordinary. Add to yogurts, puddings, chopped fruit, coffee, or even your oatmeal. Okay, a chai spice mix. Now all of these are powdered. 1½ tablespoons of cinnamon, 1 tablespoon of coriander, 3/4 teaspoon of cloves, 3/4 teaspoon of cardamom, half a teaspoon of ginger, half a teaspoon of black pepper, half a teaspoon of nutmeg. Mix this with 1 cup of raw natural honey. Seal and let set for at least 1 day. A week would be better. Heat together 1 cup of milk or milk substitute with 2 to 3 teaspoons of instant tea. Stir in 1 tablespoon of your chai spice honey. Instant chai tea latte. Now you can scan the QR code for my YouTube video on making chai spice infused honey. How about making some turmeric honey? Stir in 3 to 4 teaspoons of powdered turmeric with 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper into 3/4 cup of raw natural honey. Now the black pepper makes the turmeric 2,000 times more bioavailable. Now turmeric is fat soluble, so it also needs to be taken with some kind of fat. This can be as easy as having a drink of milk with it. Now you need to let this honey set overnight. Now, if you're making other infused honeys, such as cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, you do not need the black pepper. And infuse your favorite chopped dried herbs. Herbs from lavender to rose petals to rosemary, thyme, etc. But they must be dry. Chop your chosen herbs, cover with honey, and stir well. Now, at this point, you can either seal it in a jar, stir it each day, and let it set for 3 to 4 weeks, or you can do the faster way with heat, but your goal is to maintain as much of the honey benefits by keeping the temperature as low as possible, 110 to 115 Fahrenheit if possible. No lid. You want to prevent condensation. Moisture will dilute your honey and could cause mold. Now you can use a crock pot. Place a canning jar ring in the bottom of your crock pot. Place a jar of honey with their herbs on the ring. Add your thermometer. Add 1 to 2 inches of water to the crock pot. Set the temperature on low. Now you want to monitor the temperature and you may have to turn it down to warm. Heat 6 to 7 hours or even overnight. But notice there is no lid. A yogurt maker is great for infusing honey. In fact, you could make several different honeys at the same time. But you want to place a spacer between the jar and the lid if the lid seals the top of the jar, which your spacer can be a canning ring. Now notice the space between the lid and the bottom of the yogurt maker. You want to heat this 6 to 7 hours or overnight. Now you can even use a double boiler, but it is the hardest to keep the temperature under 110 to 115 Fahrenheit. and you heat it for several hours. Now, if you do go over the 115, it might get up to 130. You're just going to lose some of the properties of your honey. You're going to strain your honey while it's still warm, but do not cap it until it's completely cool. Now, you can use fresh botanicals like onions, garlic, and fresh herbs. Infusing onions, garlic, or thyme, or any combination into honey are well-known cough syrup remedies. You cover with honey and let them set overnight. But a faster way, which could destroy some of the honey benefits, is to heat it over a double boiler or simmer in a skillet or saucepan for several hours. Now you want to strain and store it in a sealed jar in the refrigerator for 2 weeks to 2 months and monitor closely for mold. And you can scan the QR code for my YouTube video on making onion syrup. Now you can make fresh botanicals like garlic and ginger infused into honey that can have an indefinite shelf life if you ferment it. This involves covering the botanicals with honey, keeping the botanicals submerged, burping, and keeping the jar flipped or stirred daily. Or you can set it and forget it with the formation kit. They are cheap enough and they make it so much easier. You get a self-fitting lid and a spring to keep botanicals under the honey. You want to peel your garlic and fill it to the bottom ring of your canning jar. Stir in enough honey, leave enough room at the top to prevent honey spilling over when you add the spring. You add your spring, screw on the self-fitting lid, set it and forget it, let it set for at least a month, and then you've got your fermented honey and garlic. Now, I also tried the glass weights with the fermenting lid to make it a set it and forget it. Now, you can avoid the mistakes I made the first time by watching my video on fermenting honey and garlic. And you can scan the QR code to see my video. Now, you can also extend the life of your infused honey by making an oxymeal. If you're a fan of vinegar and honey, there is a name for that, oxymeal. An oxymeal is made by adding apple cider vinegar to infused honey. You combine the respiratory benefits of both apple cider vinegar and honey for an exceptional remedy. Now, the most famous oxymeal is fire cider vinegar. Now, my favorite oxymeal is ginger. A ginger oxymeal is good for nausea, motion sickness, thinning mucus, antiviral, and respiratory infections. Fill any size jar 1/3 to half full of grated fresh ginger. Fill 2/3 full of apple cider vinegar. Add 1 teaspoon to 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. That would be a teaspoon for a pint jar and a tablespoon for a quart jar. Fill the jar to the top with raw natural honey and stir. Seal with the lid. Let set for 2 to 6 weeks, stirring or shaking each day. Strain into a clean jar and you've got your ginger oxymeal. And you can scan the QR code for my YouTube video on making a ginger oxymeal. And you might be an herbalist if you call honey and vinegar an oxymeal. Like, subscribe, and share so you don't miss any of these healing remedies.